As a child, summer is the best time, when fond memories and deep bonds are formed that will always have a place in our hearts. For 13-year-old Patrick Mizell and his close friends, August 28th, 1993 is one summer day they will never forget. That afternoon, 13-year-old Maury Brazil and a friend were walking about a mile back in the woods behind his house.
That's kind of like my summer home. I'm back there a lot during the summer with my friends.
Hey, they're just... I don't hear anything.
I kept telling Jonathan that I was hearing voices.
Listen, there it is again. It's coming from...
Then we heard some hammering. We figured somebody was building a fort.
Oh, it sounds like myself. Come on. Hey, myself!
Whoa.
Golly! How'd you get that high? What's up, guys?
We saw Patrick up in the tree.
Come on up.
And he was up about 3 or 4 stories high.
Man, this is awesome.
I was amazed because I've never built a fort that high.
14-year-old Ben Boatler and another friend were helping Patrick build the treehouse.
Me and Patrick are great friends.
When'd y'all get here? We've been here for
the treehouse is going to be a place where we can go and spend the night and have fun.
Right, you bring anything out?
We were talking about how awesome it was and how cool it was going to be when they finished.
Nail it. I think you're going to... Oh, I'm in a hole. Oh, my God! Patrick!
When Patrick hit the ground, it was one of the most terrible sounds I've ever heard in my whole entire life.
Patrick, help! What are we doing?
He was laying on his side. He wasn't moving, and everybody just was kind of running around screaming, "What do we do? Oh my gosh, you know, he's dead." Ben and Patrick and I are all in the same Boy Scout troop, and I remembered when we learned the first aid merit badge, they said the worst thing you can do is panic because that's the way a lot of people die.
He's not breathing. He's not breathing.
I knew not to move him because I could maybe paralyze him, but he wasn't breathing, so I had to put him on his back to lift his chin up to open his airway. But that didn't work, so I did a finger sweep. His tongue was in the back of his throat, and I pulled it out.
He's breathing. He's breathing.
His face was really pale. In Scouts, there was a rhyme that says, if their face is pale, lift the tail. If the face is red, lift the head.
We gotta lift his legs up. Be careful, Maury.
Maury said, lift his feet to make sure he doesn't go into shock.
Go get help. Hurry up. Run.
I was really scared for him. I wasn't sure if he was going to live or not.
Moment, emergency, what address?
Within 15 minutes of the accident, one of the boys got to a phone to call for help. A mobile medic ambulance was immediately dispatched to the scene.
Hang in there.
Adrenaline was pumping through every vein in my body, and I really couldn't believe that this was
It's gonna be
happening.
okay, Patrick. Hang in there.
He was breathing very raggedly, and I thought he was going to die.
Come on, Patrick.
Me and Patrick are great friends, and I can't imagine him not being here anymore.
Come on, guys. Hurry.
Paramedic Derek Layton and the other rescue workers arrived at the nearest house within 25 minutes of the accident.
There was a lady waiting for us. She said, get on the four-wheeler, and he'll take you to where the patient was. The woods were about 100 yards back, so I figured that we were going to be right behind the house.
How much further? That much. Hurry, guys.
But we got there, and the ambulance was probably a good mile away from where we were.
Hurt really bad. Hurt.
I realized I didn't have my radio with me. I didn't think I'd be that far out of contact with my crew. Just by looking at him, I knew he was critical.
Take this back to the ambulance crew. Tell them this is equipment that I need, okay?
All right.
He's been like that the whole time?
Yes.
What happened to him?
He fell from that tree.
Hey, Patrick? Can you hear me? Patrick?
I was surprised to see his blood pressure and his pulse as stabilized as they were. Everything that could have been done prior to our arrival was done.
Right over here.
But his pupils were gazed upward and to the right, which would indicate some type of head injury.
Okay. 13-year-old fell out of the tree about 40 feet. He's unconscious.
It crossed the back of my mind that he might die while we were still out in the woods.
Put a C-collar on him.
How is he?
Hang on.
Patrick's mother and father, Laurie and Jim Mizell, were notified of his accident.
It seemed like I was running real fast, but I couldn't get there. It was like slow motion.
I could tell by the looks on the faces of the paramedics and the firemen that it was a very serious situation.
Are you okay?
Sam, he's doing fine, okay?
Patrick,
Listen to me.
He just looked like he was sleeping to me.
Are you okay?
Doing fine.
Just hold on.
I kept holding on to the hope that he was going to be okay. Just when you see that your child's sitting there and he's not moving. It's just kind of frightening.
A lot of brush. You're going to be okay, sweetheart.
Since I lost my father about 4 years ago, Patrick's been my biggest buddy, and the thing that crossed my mind was that I was going to lose my best friend.
It's real scary to think that you might outlive your child. I just would rather die than him die. He's such a joy. Such a sweet, good kid. That I just would miss him.
Patrick was taken to the trauma unit of the University of Mississippi Medical Center in critical condition and treated by a team of doctors, including neurosurgeon Philippa Zordigan.
Any purposeful movement just yet? When I first saw Patrick, he was comatose. And he had sustained a punctured lung, but he hadn't broken either his neck or his back. He's had a real bad injury to the head. The bad news was that he had sustained a very severe head injury. We need to operate on. We were very concerned that he would either remain in a coma permanently or would not survive at all.
You doing okay, sugar?
How you doing, buddy? This your daddy.
And we're just kind of sitting there comforting him, telling him where he was, telling him what happened, so that if he could hear us, he wouldn't be scared to death.
You need to go ahead and get well as soon as you can. The main thing I was worried about was that his state of mind was going to get bad and he was just going to give up.
We got through that first night, and I kept telling him, this isn't good enough, Patrick. You got to show me your eyes. I just wanted him to wake up.
There you go. Good. There
It's the first time that I saw his eyes. It was, it's like when you're looking at them when they're a little baby, and they look up at you and smile.
Can you see anything?
It's just a bunch of prayers that were answered. It's just an answer to a prayer.
13-year-old Patrick Mizell spent 10 days in the hospital. In the 2 months since the accident, he has made an amazing recovery.
I think that Patrick was an incredibly lucky young man. I don't think anyone else who would have fallen that distance would have done nearly as well or even survived that fall. He's still a little bit slow in his speech, but he is back in school. He has been asking me if he could start lifting weights again. Now I have to be the meanie and tell him, no, you can't do this just yet. Slow down.
Concentrate on the ball.
I'm looking forward to just being able to do my normal activities. But I intend to be real careful in a lot of the things that I do. I've learned that I'm not invincible.
He's been very adventurous. Jim and I have said that if he makes it through his teens alive, it'll be a miracle. We tease him now. We tell him that some angels caught him on the way down, which probably happened.
I will do my best
die in my country, to obey the scout laws.
Their training that they had learned in the Boy Scouts was the exact thing that he needed at that time. If it hadn't been for them opening his airway, he would have been dead before we got there. There's just no question that they're the ones that saved his life.
I don't think I can repay all the people that helped me. I want them to know that I'm very grateful for what they did.
Little frogs.
Maybe I'll get to see him grow up more and see his kids, and when he has his own, he'll probably be able to feel the fullness of being a parent and the love that comes from it. He's my special son, and he always has been.
I've done several things to me in your lifetime that have made me probably grab.
Like what?